So while walking around the city of Beppu and talking to the people here, I've learned that much of this area was heavily affected by the earthquake. The drop in the number of tourists was mostly due to rumors following the disaster. But now with improved accessibility of emergency information, the people here are really enthusiastic about welcoming more visitors. So in the future, I like to return here and take time to enjoy the city's hospitality and, of course, the hot springs.
This year's Nobel Prize in Literature has been awarded to American musician Bob Dylan, whose songs are well known.
The Nobel Prize in Literature for 2016 is awarded to Bob Dylan for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition.
Dylan was born in the U.S. state of Minnesota in 1941. He made his recording debut in 1962. His songs, including Blowin' in the Wind and Like a Rolling Stone, served as anthems during the Civil Rights Movement and the Vietnam War. Dylan has won a number of awards during his 50-year career, including Grammys, an Academy Award, and a Pulitzer Prize. This is the first time in Nobel Prize history for a musician to win in literature. The Academy members say Dylan's influence on contemporary music has been profound.
Joining us in the studio is Mr. Masahiko Abe. He's an associate professor of the University of Tokyo. Great to have you with us today.
My pleasure.
Professor, thank you very much for coming. Well, Bob Dylan, well, he's a musician, right? What part of his job do you think the committee, the Nobel Prize Committee, are particularly interested in to award him?
Right. I think he's very known to have committed himself to politics, and that was one of the strongest points, I think. And also, he's known to have expanded the scope of popular songs by singing about not only about love romance, but also about the darkest side of life, etc. And also, in the recent past, it is well known that Bob Dylan became very well known even within the academic world, and there are serious critical works on his lyrics. So in that sense, he's now critically well established, and that made a big point.
Change the subject slightly. Well, there were quite a lot of people who are expecting the Japanese Haruki Murakami to get the Nobel Prize. Well, in fact, this is a tendency that we see quite a lot every year since a long time ago. But the reality didn't come as many people wished. What do you think is behind this?
Yeah, big disappointment to Murakami's fans. But I think I'm not really an expert about the politics of Nobel Prize, but compared with Bob Dylan, Murakami's critical establishment is yet to come, I think. So he's very popular, and there are a lot of critical works on his works, and now people start to understand what sort of implication his works have. But on the international stage, I don't think Murakami's work are really well explored in English, for instance, or in other languages yet. His novels and his essays are well translated, but there are things to be done by his supporters.
Right, but he is quite well read among foreign readers. But that itself, are you saying that itself is not enough? So what do you think is needed if he is to get the prize?
I think Murakami himself is changing, and some people say that he's not really politically committed, and I'm not quite sure about that. He is a very reclusive novelist. He tries to distance himself from society and even from the literary world, but actually that sort of gesture itself implies something. In other words, his relation to society is very peculiar, and when people start to understand what's there, his sort of reputation will rise.
Interesting. Professor Abe, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And moving on. People in many parts of